This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome aboard for another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. Glad to have you aboard as we get set to discuss perhaps the most wild thing to come out of the Edmonton Oilers' sphere of the offseason so far. And this one too coming from the Boston Bruins ends of things because of a report from Murphy's Law on Twitter pretty much spouting out that the Bruins want a big key piece of the Edmonton Oilers offense and that they're going to try and make it in an off-season swing. But before we get there, friends, if you're new to the channel, what I need you to do is consider hitting that subscribe button here on the channel today. I would love to have you aboard for more Edmonton Oilers discussion throughout the offseason. But as we break this one down, essentially what you need to know, Murphy's Law on Twitter, which is Jimmy Murphy as far as I can understand, runs a blog, Boston Hockey Now, insider for the Boston Bruins, and pretty much has set up that the Bruins are looking heavily into trying to swing for the fences and acquire Ryan Nugent-Hopkins from the Edmonton Oilers to fill what will probably be the shoes of Patrice Bergeron leaving the team this season. And try and run it back as cup contenders once again this year. So that's an interesting kind of take on things. And the post from the Mug NHL, which was summing up this whole situation here for us on Twitter today, ends up going on to say that the Bruins would be willing to trade Matt Grzelcyk to the Oilers and have already also been attempting to shop Taylor Hall. So when I say this one is wild, when I say this is the craziest thing we've seen so far this offseason in terms of Oilers rumors, NHL rumors, in terms of anything happening with the Edmonton Oilers this offseason, first off, trading Nugent-Hopkins, 100-point man, power play beast, guy that absolutely goes out there and runs your offense for you game in, game out, depending on how you view that. Well, why would you do that if you're the Edmonton Oilers? And two, the fact that Taylor Hall might somehow in some weird way end up back as an Edmonton Oiler in exchange for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Yeah, this one was wild. When I read this morning, I just honestly didn't even know what to think of it because it was like, wow, okay, what? And here's what I'll tell you. Realistically, we're talking about this today because this is what there is to talk about today. Do I, A, think the Oilers are going to trade Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to anyone, let alone the Bruins? No. B, do I think that Taylor Hall is going to become an Edmonton Oiler once again? I thought we had put those rumors to bed when he went to the Bruins. So B, no. And C, do I think the Oilers would trade Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for a package including Matt Grzelcyk and Taylor Hall? Goodness, I hope not, because we just finally put to bed that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is an Edmonton Oiler for life. So when this all comes down to this, again, I don't know where the Bruins are coming at things. I don't know what the Bruins are trying to do to become a cup contender for another year in a row. But realistically, maybe we should go break it down on team friendly or team friendly, cap friendly, and understand what we've got going on over here for the Boston Bruins, who have $4.5 million in cap space, no first rounder, no second rounder, and only a third, fourth, sixth, and 2 sevenths in this year's draft, mind you. And of course, Trent Frederick is an RFA this year. Patrice Bergeron is a UFA. Tyler Bertuzzi is a UFA. Nick Foligno's a UFA. Garnett Hathaway's a UFA. David Krejci is a UFA. And Thomas Nosek is a UFA. Although it seems likely that we've seen the last of Bergeron and Krejci in Bruins and NHL sweaters. And especially now, too, you think about Taylor Hall, who's eaten up $6 million of cap space for the next 2 seasons. Well, friends, that's where we're at. But I want to quickly take a look at Matt Grzelcyk, who's eating up $3.6 million in cap space. And you got to think about this. The Bruins have a ton of guys eating up cap space on the back end. Every one of their top 6 defenders is signed for a $3+ million deal at current. Charlie McAvoy making $9.5 million on the top end. Matt Grzelcyk, though, a guy who is signed until the end of next season at $3.6875 and has produced steadily for the past 4 seasons, 20 points plus per year in anywhere between, I guess you could say, 68, 37, or 75 games. So I guess depends on how you view it. But a guy, too, that comes with 63 games of playoff experience. So I get it, right? The Oilers might be interested in acquiring a left-hand shot guy like that. especially chip back Brett Kulak the other way. Well, in a deal with that, okay, bing bang, yeah, I see something there. But again, Nugent-Hopkins, I see nothing there, so that does not make sense at all. But then you go on to talk about Taylor Hall potentially returning to the Edmonton Oilers and what that all means for the Oilers, and I don't even want to start that discussion, to be honest with you. But a guy who had 16 goals, 20 assists in 36 points in 61 games played last season, and 8 points in 7 games in the playoffs. So still a very serviceable player in the NHL, and obviously is he worth $6 million? Well, I mean, you put him with Connor McDavid, you could probably make him worth $6 million plus, just like Evander Kane and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins have earned their contracts playing alongside Draisaitl and McDavid over the past few years. So when it all comes down to it, friends, that's kind of the quick Coles notes of what you need to know, but am I really taking anything seriously here? We haven't seen an Oilers reporter sit here and report that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is being shopped or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is being traded this offseason. We haven't seen the start of that or even anything on that. So when it comes down to it for me, it's just maybe a Bruins reporter or Bruins insider looking at a fit that, this makes sense. I could roll a deal here if I was the GM of the Bruins, and then trying to work something out for exactly what I'm doing. Clicks, right? 100%. That's exactly what I view this as on a Sunday afternoon here in Alberta. But end of the day is it's the end of May. Anything can happen yet. I mean, it's literally what we got. A month until the draft is what we figured out on the Canada-Germany live stream this afternoon. And 2, we've got a month and like 35 days until NHL free agency opens. So anything is still possible in that time. Plus, you add on the fact that we've got a Stanley Cup final to go and then 2 months of non-hockey months to go after July 1st. There's a ton of stuff still yet to happen. But again, friends, what I will reinforce is I do not want any kind of reunion with Taylor Hall unless we sign him in UFA status, right? You have nothing to trade for him, nothing that I want to give up to trade to acquire Taylor Hall at $6 million. And B, if it comes at the cost of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, that is the most ludicrous thing I have seen the Oilers do in a long while. It was ludicrous to trade Taylor Hall to begin with, but secondary to trade Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for Taylor Hall in some kind of package like that that's being suggested, I am not here for it. I am not down for it, and I want absolutely no part of that. You guys know, especially if you watch my live streams, every time someone asks who is my favorite Edmonton Oiler, it is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is the quick answer, right? I always start off, I should say McDavid or Draisaitl, but you know what? It's Nugent-Hopkins because that's my guy. That's the guy that started changing the curve here in Edmonton all those years back. So friends, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Thanks so much for being aboard this afternoon. Bruins fans, I guess if you're still tuning in and you're still watching, what are your thoughts? Do you know more on this than I do? Do you kind of have a perception about Bergeron, Krejci, and your whole crew that makes more sense to this than I can? Let me know in the comments section down below. I am up on out of here.